So now we want to build out our backend so we can have a database and we can start loading in React. So in our front end, we are currently using static data and we want to use a real database for this and make this a full stack application. So before we get started, I want to talk about this flow and how all of this will work together. So in our React project right now, we just have a couple of pages and the data in those pages uh, is coming from a static file called product.js. So for our product page, we are loading in that file and that's all we are doing. But we don't want to use static data. We want real data here. So once we build out our backend, we are going to build that out as a separate project and that's going to be on port 8000. So we will build these out as completely separate projects. We will need both servers running. So our port 3000 and our port 8000 and eventually this will become one project. Okay, so we'll talk about that later. And once we have that backend with our API and our database from our front end, we if we just want to get our product, we are going to send a get request. So that's the method here. We will use different methods here. These are going to be delete, put, post and get. We'll send a get request to port 8000 forward slash API forward slash products. So this request using Axios will be sent to the backend and in our backend we are going to get that request inside of a view. Now in that view we'll send that to our database. So for now we are using SQLite, but eventually that will be PostgreSQL, Postgres database. So we'll send that query to the database. The database will get that data, send it back into our view, and before we can return that, we will need to serialize our data because right now that's a Python query set and we can only get JSON data in our front end. So we will serialize that data and then we will return that back to the front end. So let's go through that one more time. So we'll send a get request to our products. That request will be sent to the view which will send a request to our database. Our database will send that data back to the view. The view will serialize that data and then we will send that back to the front end. And that's how we start working with the real data. And if we wanted to get an individual product, that route, right, there will be API forward slash products and then the product ID. Now if we want to create a product, we'll send a post request and this is going to be two products forward slash create. So we will have different routes and to delete and update products we'll use a put and delete method here. So these are just different methods and that's our request response cycle. So here is a request, here is a response. So we are just going through that. And when we are sending data, we will send from data from the front end. So if we are creating a product, that we'll do here is we'll send in the product name, the image that we want to add to that, the pricing that's going to send the data from the backend, and this will send it to a view. And then in this case we are going to add data to the database instead of that getting data, and then the database will return back either nothing, or let's say if we want to get back that product right away. So this is our request response cycle. Now when we are creating our product for production or for deployment, what we'll need to do here is in React in development we are just running on port 3000. But when we want to deploy this, we are going to need to turn our entire React project into a static file. So what we'll do is we'll run a command called run build. This will turn our file into static files. We will add these static files into Django, and then Django will serve up our React project. So the cycle is still be the same. We'll still have a front end and back end, but the project itself will not have to be on a uh, different server. We'll just add that into our Django project. So that's how we will make it work together, and that's the entire cycle. So let's go ahead and start building out the backend, and we'll get started in the next video.